The Kentucky that everyone knows hasn't changed. The legendary land of bluegrass farms and fences and homes. Only now, traveling the gentle hills, new to the familiar scene, electric power lines stretch away into the distance. Some people think of Kentucky as a small state, but it isn't. Between borders that spread from the Alleghenies to the Mississippi lie 20 million acres of farmlands, 20 million acres of rich earth and prosperous farmsteads. From these lands come harvests worth $500 million each year. From them come 100 million bushels of corn and wheat, millions of tons of seed grasses for pastures all over the world, the second greatest tobacco crop in the nation. 70% of the people of Kentucky live on farms or in rural areas. These farm folks are prosperous and comfortable, living in modern homes, enjoying all the conveniences of our modern way of life. And probably the greatest of these conveniences is electricity. Yet less than 20 years ago, only 3 farms out of every 100 had electric lights. 3%. Less than 20 years ago, a Kentucky farm was an isolated place. Farming is, at best, an arduous life. And to the farmer of 20 years ago, it was even harder. It meant he must rise before dawn to a cold and lightless house. He began a long, demanding day on the strength of his back and his arms. There was little chance for other things, no time for learning new farming methods, no time for seeing the outside world, no time for family pleasures. His wife's work was never done. As she labored through long hours of long days, she soon came to look older than her years. Children studied over dim-lit lessons, trading the strength in young eyes for knowledge. In the city, electricity was nothing new. They'd had it since the turn of the century. City lights were taken for granted, and stores filled with electrical appliances were commonplace. Electric appliances were commonplace, but to some, to those who had to go without, to people who only visited the city, they were part of a different world. There were times when farmers went to the privately owned power companies to ask for power for their farms. But the answer and the reasons were always the same.
No, I'm afraid we can't extend power way out to your farm. You see, 1 or 2 or 3 farms on a mile of power line is just improfitable. Why, the little we receive wouldn't begin to repay us for the expense of installation and maintenance of your power lines. It just wouldn't be practical. Sorry?
So, the farmer went without. In some cases, entire towns were left to the alternatives of candles and kerosene. Then in 1935, something happened. Something that would affect the lives of more than 50 million Americans. The Congress of the United States established the Rural Electrification Administration, better known as the REA. This was an agency that made money available on loan at interest to any responsible group who would extend electric power to the nation's rural areas. Armed with the new promise of federal help, the farmers again went to the private companies. And again, the answer was the same.
No, it just isn't practical. I'm sorry.
But this time, the farmers had another idea, a plan suggested by REA.
That is, we'll just start our own company, run our own power line.
So they talked it over in their homes. Why not have a cooperative power organization? On the street, co-ops have worked other places, why not here? In meetings. If we can just get together, this is our best chance to get the electricity we all need. Neighbors talked to neighbors and explained the proposition the government would make.
The government doesn't want to run our company. They just want to see us get electricity and are willing to lend us the money to do it.
Well, of course we do have to pay the loan back, but we have 35 years to do that. And then after we've paid the loan back, we will own the company, we who use the power.
They won't give us anything but advice. They've got men that know about managing and building power companies.
These organizers didn't always have it easy, even though they were talking to their friends. Perhaps one man was afraid of the expense. Or another man was afraid to have the power lines running across his land. And another, well, he just didn't know whether he wanted electricity. But there were people who did want power, wanted it right from the beginning. There were enough of them, enough subscriptions, to convince the government that they were good business risks. So the first loans were made. Then things moved quickly. Elections were held. Members elected their boards of directors, and these directors elected co-op officers. The co-ops began to roll. The first began at Henderson, and from there new co-ops spread out to the east and west and south, to Brandenburg, Hopkinsville, Winchester. As the news spread, memberships increased from tens to hundreds to thousands. Over the Cumberland Mountains to McKee, West Liberty, Paintsville, Grayson. One by one, new cooperatives were begun until 26 in all covered the areas where power had once been no more than a word and a wish. So power spread from farm to farm, and as it spread, more and more began to realize the real blessing of electricity and the many uses it could serve. Power power brought record crops and new production goals, along with shorter hours and relief from the drudgery that was once the heritage of the farm. Dairy barns could be more easily cleaned and lighted. Milking was made easier, faster, and more sanitary with automatic milkers. The electric fence could be moved easily anytime and made costlier fences unnecessary. Electric brooders brought life-giving warmth to some of the youngsters of the farm. Pumps brought water from lakes and ponds and sent it to the fields to bring relief from crop-killing droughts. Electricity helped cure the tobacco, and special lights saved precious time in preparing it for market. And electricity operated countless machines, some manufactured, some homemade, to do the little tedious chores. It worked hard for the farmer, shouldered much of his burden. It made farming more profitable and life much easier. To the farmer's wife, power was a particular blessing. Her deliverance to a home of electrical service, the electric range, the electrically pumped water system, the food freezer, the washing machines, a world of modern appliances and a completely new manner of living. Radio and television brought the rest of the world into the living rooms of the most remote farmhouses. And of course, the greatest blessing of all for the whole family was electric light. But the transmission of rural electricity didn't stop with the farms and homes. It went on to the schools, hundreds of grammar and high schools, trade schools, and junior colleges, schools where young men learned vocational skills, and young women the art of homemaking. It went into the many churches of Kentucky, churches where the altars were lighted by the co-ops the congregations owned. It electrified hospitals that could now be built away from the cities, bringing medical attention close to the rural door. It stimulated business in towns all over Kentucky. For every dollar spent for rural power lines, 5 more were used to buy new home appliances. Rural electricity brought in new industry that sought power to use the many other resources of rural Kentucky. And in the already existing plants, co-op power meant increased production and greater numbers of employees. In mills, plants, and factories throughout the state, men and women turn out products that have enriched their communities. Hundreds of products and thousands of jobs that exist because of rural electricity. Rural electric co-ops, just like any other businesses, have paid taxes, many millions of dollars over the years to their communities and states, taxes that help maintain local, county, and state governments and their public works. The Kentucky transformation has been sudden. 20 years ago, only 3 farms out of 100 had power. Today, that number has increased to 80, all in a single score of years. Of these, 70% of the power is furnished by Kentucky co-ops. The rest is distributed by private power companies who know now that rural power will pay. At present, 4 rural electric co-ops are receiving an adequate and dependable source of cheap electricity from TVA. The remaining co-ops are being supplied power from private sources. But because of excessive costs, the future of these remaining co-ops lies in a new $30 million East Kentucky generating and transmitting system. When completed, This system will be a source of more power, dependable power, and cheaper power for 150,000 rural Kentucky families. The entire rural electric cooperative program is self-supporting. It has cost the taxpayers nothing. In fact, the government, through REA, has made money on its investment. Some thought rural power impractical. Some said it couldn't work, wouldn't pay. But today, member-owned, member-operated electric cooperatives have made it work, have made it pay, a tribute to the spirit of a determined people. This was and is free enterprise in its finest form. This was the work of neighbors joining with neighbors, securing what they felt was their right, a better standard of living. This was democracy. Democracy in the cornfields, as some have called it. The legendary land of Kentucky hasn't changed. The bluegrass farms and fences and homes, only the lines of power are new to the familiar scene. Lines bringing progress and a greater harvest of good living along their way.